Hello, my name is Shreyansh Vinod, and today I have a very fascinating book with me. The name of the book is The Election That Surprised India. This book is written by Rajdeep Sardesai, one of the most senior journalists in this country, and the book is published by HarperCollins. Before I review this 500-page tome, I would like to tell you a story about book reviews in the industry, in the publishing industry. Andrew Marr, who is a very senior journalist, he works at BBC, he wrote a book called My Trade, A Short History of Journalism in Britain. A few years ago, he wrote that book. And when I was reading that book, what caught my attention, what caught my eye was he's mentioning that book reviewers complained to him that he had not given index at the end of the book. The reason the book reviewers were complaining about the book, about lack of index in the book, was because they had to read the book cover to cover. I'm telling you this story to bring a very simple point home, that nowadays when a book reviewer is reviewing a book, he or she is not reading the book in its entirety, but rather they are going through patches of work and then they are cobbling together their book review. I have gone through the book in its entirety. I have read the entire 500 pages that Rajdeep Sardesai has so painstakingly put together. I have gone through all the chapters. The book has 14 chapters. It has an introduction and it has an epilogue, which makes 16 chapters at the end. But I have gone through each and every sentence of this book. While I am reviewing this book, I will be giving you facts that I have gleaned from this book, but I will not be giving you my opinion of this book. I will leave the opinion making to my viewers. You listen to my review, you judge the book on its merit, and you find out whether this book is worth buying or worth reading or not. So I'm going to give you facts. You can make your own opinion. Facts are sacred, opinion is free. So let's begin with the review of the book. The book, as I mentioned earlier, has 14 chapters. It has an introduction and then at the end it has an epilogue. The epilogue talks about the road ahead for Modi and Rahul Gandhi. The first chapter of this book is on BJP's slogan of Ab ki baar 400 par. Rajdeep Sardesai gives us a ringside view of how the BJP zeroed in on this slogan. He tells us that when there was an internal BJP meeting going on, a leader, the leader's name is not mentioned in the book, he opined that this time we should be aiming for something grand, and he came with this slogan of Ab ki baar 400 par. In 2014 we had achieved absolute majority on our own. In 2019 we bettered on our result of 2014, we got 303 seats. So let's try to fire up our cadre this time by giving them a new target of 400 plus seats. Amit Shah, who is considered to be modern day Chanakya by many political strategists in India, mostly by people who are sympathizer of BJP, he shot this opinion down, he shot this slogan down, saying that until and unless we give our voters reason that why do we need 400 seats in the parliament, this slogan is empty. It has no meaning if we are not able to convince our voters, our core supporters, that why exactly do we need 400 seats in the parliament, and what will be the tangible benefits that will come to common people's lives if we get such a humongous majority. So 400, it's all good talk, big talk, bravado, but at the end of the day, we have to tell our voters why do we need this kind of supermajority. But when this slogan was proposed to Mr. Modi, Rajdeep Sardesai tells us that he lapped on the idea. He was of the opinion that this will demoralize the opposition completely, and mind you, this was in February 2024 when the BJP was riding high on a religious sentiment. Ram Mandir was newly consecrated in the month of January, and Congress's internal polls were suggesting that they might get only 25 to 27 seats. So Modi latched onto the idea of 400 plus seats for the BJP, thinking that it will demoralize the opposition further and it will fire up the cadre. They will have new mission to fulfill, And even if they will not be able to cross the 400 seats, they might be able to get 350 seats at the end of the elections. But 4th of June proved Mr. Modi completely wrong, and it told us that how prescient was Amit Shah's calculation that the slogan of 400 plus seat was empty talk. It was a bravado, nothing more than that, and it could backfire. At the end of the election, we got to realize, the country got to realize that the slogan did backfire because it put the minorities on their back foot. It created insecurity among the so-called lower castes in India because they thought that the constitution would be amended if the BJP gets supermajority and the reservation will be done away with. So this kind of whisper campaign against the BJP's slogan of 400 plus seats backfired on the BJP very badly, and at the end of the day, a demoralized Congress and a demoralized opposition was able to pull rabbit out of their hat and get 232 seats, coming very close to forming the government. This is the first chapter that Rajdeep Sardesai gives us a ringside view of what exactly happened in the month of February, March 2024, when the BJP leadership was thinking about keeping their cadre the morale of their cadre high and galvanizing more popular support and winning the support of floating voters. The second chapter of this book, ये हिंदुत्व की सरकार है, is the name of the chapter. It tells us about the unapologetic BJP's outlook on Hinduism and Hindutva. Rajdeep Sardesai gives us few anecdotes from top leadership's personal lives and how Amit Shah told one of his colleagues in BJP that the BJP leadership should not be defensive about being proponent of Hindutva. हम हिंदुत्व के सरकार है and we should be unapologetic about it. We will be taking care of the majority sentiment and we will also be pushing their agenda. This is what Amit Shah says to one of his colleagues, as Rajdeep Sardesai has quoted the unnamed source quoting Amit Shah. So the chapter on ये हिंदुत्व की सरकार है brings to sharper focus the internal mechanics and dynamics of BJP's functioning when it comes to pushing their core Hindutva ideology. What this chapter does not tell us is that why Hindutva has come to symbolize such negativity in this country. And I will give an example. The binary that we have today, Hinduism versus Hindutva, to many of us, it doesn't make sense. Because at the end of the day, ism is a Portuguese suffix, or ism has Portuguese root, which means a particular way of looking at something. Hindutva, twa, has Sanskrit root, and twa means the essence of something. Rajdeep Sardesai does not tell us that why this Hinduism versus Hindutva is such a big deal in Indian politics. And if we look at the ideology or the outlook of Hinduism, then it is not about a particular way of looking at something. Hinduism has 50,000 books, which means it cannot have an ism to it. So we are not told in this chapter that how Congress or how the opposition came to defend the ism part of Hindu but not the twa part of Hindu. Is it because Veer Savarkar wrote a book critiquing Hindutva and what Hindus should be doing? So is it Veer Savarkar's Hindutva that the Congress is opposed to? We are not told this in this chapter, and that is quite understandable because this book is about all the events that led to 2024 election. As we progress in this book, it addresses many issues. For example, there is a chapter that deals with farmers' angst. Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan is a third chapter which tells us that how Modi government bungled with the implementation of Agni-Veer scheme, leading to frustration among Haryana youth and youth coming from Uttar Pradesh, because these are the two states that sent maximum number of youth to the army. And when Modi government brought this rule of Agni-Veer, truncating the service period, in Indian army. It created not only chaos in many people's life who had already written their examination for entry in Indian army, but it also demoralized them. Getting into Indian army is not only a question of bread and butter but also respect. The same chapter tells us about how Modi government was able to misread the farmers' sentiment. And this is a very fascinating tale that Rajdeep Sardesai tells us in this chapter. I will just describe this entire episode in a couple of minutes. When the Modi government decided to bring in 3 farm law bills, Harsimrat Singh Kaur, who was representing Akali Dal, she was opposed to it. She said that it will create chaos in the countryside. Everywhere the farmers will be up in their arms protesting the farm law bills, and the government should not be pushing an agenda that has the potential to put the country on fire. Amit Shah cut her short and said that in 15-20 days everything will be back on normal track. You should not be worried about it. We will be encountering some protest and some pushback from farmers in Punjab, but farmers in Haryana, farmers in Western Uttar Pradesh, farmers from Rajasthan, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, they will not be opposing it. So we are not going to cater to requirements of farmers from only one state, but rather we are going to do something about farmers from all over the country. Harsimrat Kaur Badal, she walked out of the meeting understanding that Amit Shah was trying to push her out of the coalition. Harsimrat Kaur Badal is quoted in the book saying that the day Arun Jaitley died in 2019, we knew that our coalition with BJP was not going to survive because Amit Shah was touring Punjab and telling his leadership in Punjab that why we are in coalition with Akali Dal. They are shooting from our shoulder. We should not let this happen and we should try to grow organically in Punjab. So this leader, Harsimrat Kaur Badal, says that Amit Shah was trying to get even with her through this bill, pushing her party out of the BJP's coalition. Now what happens after these bills are brought in is that farmers from Punjab protest, but farmers from Haryana also go up in arms. Farmers from Western Uttar Pradesh, Jat-dominated region, also go up in arms against the government. And farmers from East Rajasthan also march towards Delhi in defiance of blockade and so many other things put on their path. Mohan Bhagwat, the RSS chief, rang Modi and said, you will have to dial down on your proposal of farm bills and you will have to take a step back. Modi was defiant and he says there are few Andolan GVs who are trying to create problem. In 15 days time everything will come under control. But as time progressed, the BJP leadership realized that this issue was going to become bigger and bigger and they might lose populace support. They also may lose war of narrative because common people will rally around simple common farmers rather than the elites ruling them from Delhi. At the fag end of 2021, it's Modi who addressed the nation on the pious holy occasion of Guru Parab and declared that he will be taking the farm law bills back and he will not be pushing ahead with those laws. Rajdeep Sardesai tells us that the entire speech tells us something about Narendra Modi's psyche. While he was addressing the nation, taking back the bills, he did not apologize. He did not say he was wrong. He said, I am taking the bills back because I was not able to convince the farmers. In other words, my laws were going to be beneficial to farmers, but because I was not able to convince them about the benefits these bills, these laws will bring to their lives, I am taking it back. In other words, farmers will lose because we are doing away with these laws, but I was not wrong. Rajdeep Sardesai says this is classic example of government shirking its responsibilities of taking, of being held accountable and blaming others all the time. He also gives example of pandemic, how the government was passing on the bucks to the state government and refusing to take responsibility for the chaos that happened during the second wave of COVID. Narendra Modi and his ministerial colleagues were constantly getting into argument even at 2 o'clock in the morning with opposition leaders on Twitter and Facebook, asking them to put their house together and not to blame the center. Sardesai says that this was not the time to pick up arguments on Twitter with your adversaries. This was time to bring the nation together to fight coronavirus. This was not the time to celebrate with Tali and Thali and tell the common people of India that coronavirus can be defeated with Tali Thali event management. These are the things that Rajdeep Sardesai address in this book. There are other chapter which talks about this government unleashing brute force on the opposition. One of the opposition leaders is quoted as saying that one of the BJP leaders went to him and said, you may have a lot of things in your life, you may have even popular support, but we have ED. This spotlights the BJP's no hold bar attack on the opposition and a willingness to cross the Rubicon to just win an election. There are many anecdotes that you will find in this book, but those anecdotes are not unique. These anecdotes have been shared in earlier 2 books written by Rajdeep Sardesai. Sardesai has written 3 books in total on Indian general election. The first book came out after 2024. The name of the book was How Modi Won India. And in 2019, just after the conclusion of the general election, Sardesai wrote second book on Indian general election, where he decoded Modi's humongous popularity among common people. So this is the third book. So all the anecdotes that we have been told here related to Amit Shah or related to Narendra Modi, we were already aware of it. Another thing about this book is that all the facts and all the figures that have come to this book, if you are following newspaper in India, any one newspaper, you would know that it's coming from the Indian Express or it is coming from the Hindustan Times. It's time now to turn gaze toward the strength of the book. What is the strength of this book? The number one strength of this book is it races through. I can call it a racy book. It is told in conversational English. You do not have to reach out to a dictionary to find out the meaning of any word. It's very chatty conversational style. The book written in a very conversational style that anyone can relate to. The second strength of this book is that it quotes a lot of people. Whenever Rajdeep Sardesai is talking about certain things that happened in the past, he gives you a ringside view of what was happening. For example, when Rahul Gandhi went on Bharat Jodo Yatra, he tells us the inside story of how Rahul Gandhi was sleeping in a container which was comfortable and which had controlled temperature, while his supporters were braving it out in the chilly winter nights. He also tells us the juicy details of an ex-minister of NCP sitting in his room, making whiskey and crying and saying, this is not the time for me to go to jail. The last time I went to jail, it wreaked havoc on my body. I'm 71-year-old. You tell me, Sardesai, is this the age to go to jail? So these are the juicy details that you come across. It keeps you hooked to the book. Even though it is 500-page plus book, you will be able to complete this book in 2 to 3 settings because it doesn't take much effort to go through this book. The prose is simple. It is not dense. It's very, as I said earlier, conversational, so you will not be finding it difficult to go through this book. The third strength of this book is that it tells you a story from different angles. When we are being told a story about the BJP and its internal functioning and the mechanics and the dynamics, then not only top leadership, unnamed top leadership is quoted, but also common people on the ground who support BJP, they are also quoted. We are also given the views of RSS sympathizer and RSS leadership. So this makes the book comprehensive because it's not one view that is being presented in this book. It's amalgamation of multiple dozens of views coming together. The fourth strength of this book is what I mentioned earlier, that it doesn't tell you something that we are not aware of. Its compendium, it is bringing together of all the things that have happened between 2019 and 2024. So in a way, this book is compilation of news reports of the last 5 years. If you have been following news, you will not find anything spectacularly different in this book. Now I will go to the weaknesses of the book. What are the weaknesses? Few of the strengths that I have just recounted also count as weakness. For example, chatty conversational English is fine, but a book published by HarperCollins should not be having 18, 20, 25 grammatical mistakes. You may accuse me of hair splitting, but the fact is, when you are reading a book and when you come across so many grammatical mistakes, it kills the joy of reading. The most important thing, the reason why we cough up huge amount of money, handsome amount of money on big publishers is because we think or we hope that we will not be coming across grammatical or syntactical mistakes. The second flaw of this book is it doesn't feel that somebody wrote this book. Writing means either you type on a computer or you use pen and paper. It feels that this book was either dictated to someone or this book was written using voice note, because the sentences are meandering. There are so many things in a single sentence. There are so many points that Rajdeep Sardesai is trying to make in a single sentence, and it again kills the joy of reading. Disciplined writing means that you address a point and you make your writing lucid. I can't call this book a lucid book. It is a comprehensive book, but when it comes to the writing style, it is not. The third flaw of this book is that it quotes many sources, but most of the sources have gone unnamed, and it raises a question mark. What kind of question mark? Look, when you are quoting 100 people, then you should be giving at least name of 10 people. It's not that all 100 people say that we are saying this off the record. And if they are saying things off the record all the time, then you should not be putting it in a book, because it brings down the credibility. It blurs the line between journalism and fiction writing. There is another mistake in this book. The fourth flaw rather, this book is too partisan. When the opposition leaders are being described, the adjectives used are not only flowery but over the top. Revolutionary Rahul Gandhi, great thinker Rahul Gandhi. These are the adjectives used for opposition leader. Charming Akhilesh Yadav, brave certain person in Bihar. These are the adjectives used for opposition leaders. But when a BJP leader is being described, it's either Machiavellian or Swarmy. I take offense. I'm not personally, but a reader can take offense that when Om Birla, who is not a politician but rather occupying a constitutional post of a speaker, when he is being described, the word obscuous and the word Swarmy should not have been used. Especially the word Swarmy, which has not only negative connotation but also it has a ring of abuse in it, it should not have been used. When Rajdeep Sardesai is talking about Amit Shah, you will get tired of one phrase, and that is, he glared at me. Every time Rajdeep Sardesai talks about meeting Amit Shah, he said, he glared at me. And this is repeated ad nauseum, and you get fed up with this. These are the strengths and weaknesses of the book. I have told you the book tells you a story of not only what went wrong for BJP in 2024 general election, rather it tells you the story of the last 5 years. All the events, crucial events leading up to 2024 general election and what kind of impact it had. Rajdeep Sardesai in the introduction of the book says that when he started writing this book, it was quite evident that BJP was going to romp home with a super majority. If not 400 plus, then at least 320, 325. When the election result came out, everyone was surprised, including the writer, when BJP fell below even a simple majority mark. getting limited to 240 seats. So the book was revised at the last minute. The book was released in the month of November. The result came out in the month of June. He had already almost completed the book except few chapters. So when the result came out, he had to revise the book. When you are reading the book, you will get that sense that the book has been revised at the last moment. Now the question, should we be buying a 799 rupees book? I have given you the facts. I have told you the stories that have been put into this book. It's up to you to decide whether you are willing to cough up 799 rupees or not. Thank you for watching me.